About 20 years ago, I decided to have my own family, get married, have children, and that was after years I've been traveling the world with my motorcycle in India, in Japan, in Europe, and I spent a few months in a monastery, and I felt like I'm living the great life of adventure. And then I thought, how difficult could it be to keep that feeling of adventure in everyday life with my family in my home in Israel? And indeed, the first few years I was doing great, I felt like a winner, but a few years later, a feeling that I'm trapped started to creep in. I really lost my inner peace, I had negative feelings, I was fighting with myself, with reality. And although I lived in a beautiful place in Jordan Valley, I had a beautiful family and a beautiful job, I really felt trapped, and I saw myself in front of a choice. Either I go back to my adventure life or I accept the life in prison. And I refused to choose this awful choice. So I went to look for an answer. And that's when I found the Yemima method. This method is actually a very simple study of concepts and tools to find freedom in everyday life. I call it the editing room of our lives. What do? We take these scenes of everyday life where we know the ending. It's so boring and annoying. She will say this, he will say that, she will say this, he will say that, and the evening will end with a fight and with a bad feeling. We're distance and okay, good night. Again and again, we find ourselves in this chain of predictable reactions and actions that get us exactly where we didn't want to get to. What we do, we take these little scenes and we study them, we look at them, we put them in our notebook, in our editing room, and we understand the patterns and the reasons why we react the way we react and why we choose to walk that road. And then we start to create freedom inside, because what we'll discover is that the feeling of being trapped is not necessarily from the outside circumstances, from the decor of our life, but instead it's mainly because of automatic reactions and perceptions that rise in us, especially in deep relationships like marriage, a job, children, and all that. But then we learn how to choose not from our habits, but from deep new choice of adventure, of freedom, and we learn to create new openings, new endings. We open our minds from our old concepts, and step by step, gradually, we start feeling that we can create freedom in these everyday scenes, and suddenly the everyday life can have the taste of this adventure. The thing is, if we get free from the inside, we don't have to run away to be who we want to be. We can learn and choose to be right now, tomorrow morning, who we want to be, and that's maybe what gives us the sense of freedom.